Hello, I'm very excited to introduce to you the activity Listen to Learn. You will hear me throughout the rest of this video and forever hear me just call it the L2L, which stands for Listen to Learn. And this, I would say, more than any other way I have found for people to learn a language, is the most efficient, effective way to really perfect a language. So I like to often tell people, like it says on the screen there, welcome to the day that can change your life. And this really is an activity that can change your life. If language is your issue, if you're learning languages just for fun, I suppose languages can always change your life. But if you're living in the country and you need to get the language right, this can be the activity that does that. So today can be the day that begins that journey for you of really refining the language in a way that's sort of fun and honestly sort of natural. It's somewhat taking the way children learn and accelerating it, of that imitation process. Before we even get started with that, I am going to give an example of the L2L activity. And to do that, I am going to put my headset on here, because that's what you'll do when you're doing your L2Ls as well. It's best usually to have a headset so you can hear clearly and speak along. So here we go. I'll give an example and then we'll talk about it.
Now, what I want you to
Now,
know
what I
as an
want you to
average
know as an
American,
average American,
you have 30
you have
conversations a
30
day.
conversations a
If
day.
you're a man, you speak
If you're a man,
about
you speak about
20,000 words a day.
20,000
If you're a
words a
woman,
day. If
about
you're a woman,
30,000
about
words. I don't know
30,000
why
words.
the difference
I
there,
don't
but
know why the
it's
difference
just
there,
research.
but it's just research.
About 1/5 or
And so on and so forth. I'm going to stop there. That's plenty to do as an example. So what did you hear? Okay, think about that. So you heard them speaking, and then generally, so they're speaking here. Generally, you hear me a little bit behind them, and I was saying it with them, but a little bit behind. Now, as you practice, you might get to where you're doing it right with them. That's great. But as you're starting to learn out, you're probably gonna be listening to words and imitating a little bit behind, and that's fine too. Okay, so that is the L2L. Everything else I say right now is going to be to add details to what you just heard and to explain little bits and details of that. So I'm going to actually take my headset off. All right, don't need that anymore. And so the L2L really is listening and imitating. Okay, if you get nothing else, that's what the L2L is. So now we're going to get some details. As I mentioned, the L2L stands for Listen to Learn. There is a textbook that has that same name. I had the name of the L2L before I ever even heard of the textbook. It just happened to have the same thing, and we used it and still use it in one of my classrooms. So what's going to happen is each week you will be assigned a short sound file. They're generally right around a minute, sometimes around 45 seconds. The longest ones are about 1 minute and 15 seconds, somewhere in that range. And you're going to want to put that sound file onto your phone. Now, the reason I say, or it's onto an MP3 player, but for most people, it's onto your phone. The reason I say that is if you're just doing it on your computer, you have to sit down and practice, and that's just dedicated time to practice the L2L, which can be great. But the value of the L2L and the power of the L2L is to practice it over and over. It just becomes part of you, that you know it, you learn it, and you can imitate it well. And really, the best way to do that is that you can do it anytime, anywhere, which means if it's on your phone, you can just put your headset in and go for a walk, and you can practice while you're on a walk. Maybe you're washing dishes. You can practice while you're washing dishes. You're not stuck at the computer. So to practice the L2L, you are going to listen while you are imitating. You're not just going to say the words. You're going to be listening. And you want to try to sound just like the recorder. You become an actor or an actress and become the person speaking. So you want to imitate their rhythm, their intonation, their pronunciation, everything that you can sound like them, even if it sounds funny to you, to try to imitate them. You're really going to pretend to be the speaker. If you were going to be an actor or actress portraying them in a movie or something, how do they speak? Now, here's where people go, oh my goodness, you're going to imitate this at least 80 times per week, okay? And then the next week, you'll often get a new one. Sometimes we'll repeat one, and after halfway through the semester, we'll often repeat them all again, and we'll talk about that. But you're gonna get a new one, but 80 times that week really is the minimum, okay? Again, we'll talk about that more. And you should practice some pretty much every day. If you want to take one day off, take a day off. But you should practice that pretty much every day, because a little bit at a time every day, or a lot each day actually, can help more than doing it all in one time when your brain just shuts down. You don't want to practice too much all at one time. You may feel good you did the assignment, but it's not really helping you that much. Then after you have practiced at least 5 times, it may be 10 times, 20 times, you know you, but at least 5 times, then you will look at the transcript. And if you look at the transcript too soon, you're going to read it. You do not want to look at the transcript first. I know you may want to, but for language purposes, don't look at the transcript until you've practiced it at least 5 times. Because what happens when you read it first is you read it with your rhythm and your intonation. And that's what goes into your head. So you want to hear them, the right way to do it, several times first, and then you can and then you can look at the transcript and see what the correct words are and fix that. But you want to get the correct rhythm and intonation into your mind first. And then each week, once a week, we will record the L2L. All right, and I'll get to listen to those L2Ls. So now we're going to break it down, more details. Again, it's saying the same things over and over again, but just more details, because this, again, is the most powerful tool that I have found for improving your English, and I want to make sure you got the details right here. So on the day it's assigned, you're going to put that MP3 on your MP3 player, usually your phone. And this will, as I mentioned, allow you to practice anytime, anywhere. So you want to get it on there right away. Now, some people say, oh, I'll do it tonight. Oh, tonight you have kids, you're hungry, you want to go to sleep, whatever. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow morning. And you push it back. That's not helping you. So you want to get it on as soon as possible, and it needs to be that same day to get started with practice. Now, ideally, you will have all of the L2L files on your phone right from the beginning of the semester. That you just get them all on early, and then right when we're supposed to start it, right away you can practice. Even when I say just go practice, you don't need to listen to the computer, you've got it on your phone. So ideally, right now, beginning of the semester, get all of those L2L files onto your phone so you're ready to go. And that will really help you later. All right, then every day you are going to imitate while listening to the recording. All right, now a few things. You must be speaking out loud. All right, just listening, or even just listening and moving your mouth, are not imitating. You should be speaking out loud. You don't need to be shouting, but you do need to be speaking out loud, because the way you speak when you're just thinking it and the way it actually comes out of your mouth are 2 different things. And the way you speak when you're not vocalizing, when you're whispering or just moving your mouth, is different. You may get the words that way, but the rhythm and intonation and getting your mouth moving quickly enough to speak clearly but accurately, you have to be talking, all right? You want to be practicing a little every day, or most days. Again, if you want to take 1 day a week off and that's just a day of rest, that's fine. That's not going to hurt you at all. It actually can be good just to have some rest time. But you don't want to be taking 2, 3, 4 days off and just practicing all in 1 or 2 days. You want to really be spreading that out, because what happens is you practice, it gets in your brain. When you sleep, your brain keeps moving. It keeps thinking about it. It's processing it. And you'll learn some things correctly, and some things your brain will get incorrect. The next day when you go to practice again, it refines that, okay? And it's refining it, it's making it deeper, the habit's deeper on saying it correctly, and that day you sleep, you wake up again, and again, it's processing at night, and it's just deepening those habits. If you only practice a lot, even a lot, on 1 or 2 days, it's not really gonna have very much help on your English. So, now, your goal is to be perfect. It's not just to do okay. It's not just to do well. Your goal really is to be perfect. And that means don't skip the difficult areas. Sometimes it's easy. I do this part well and I do this part well, but this part in the middle, I struggle with that part in the middle. And that's where you want to focus, because usually the areas that you struggle with, it's because the rhythm, they're linking and they're blending, and the rhythm is interesting there. And those are the parts, when you get those, that it's reprogramming the way you speak. And when you're reprogrammed, those hard parts aren't so hard anymore. So really focus on the hard parts, especially that linking and blending of words together. As I mentioned, after you've practiced 5 to 20 times, you'll find what works best for you. Look at the transcript, and you do need to look at the transcript, because sometimes you think you're doing it all well, and you look at the transcript and oh, I was saying the wrong words. It made sense, but it wasn't the right words, especially because of linking and blending. Some words will sound like other words, and you want to make sure you are saying the correct words and you know what you're saying. You can also write on the transcript. Maybe you mark where there's linking and blending, where there's intonation issues, rhythm thing, just anything. You can mark those, and we'll talk more about those in another video. You can also check for anything you don't understand, any words or phrases that you don't understand. You look them up, you can ask, and things like that. So you do want to make sure to look at the transcript. And you want to make sure you know what you're saying. All right, then after 2 or 3 days, you want to take that transcript and get rid of it. If you continue to use the transcript, it will hurt you because you'll always be dependent on the transcript in order to speak correctly with the right rhythm and the right speed, and it won't really go into your head. So as soon as possible, a lot of times people, maybe after just the first day, they don't use the transcript anymore. You practice enough that you've got it early on, and then you don't need the transcript anymore. If you do use the transcript, you may sound really good to you because when you're reading, you will keep whatever language is your native language, you will keep that in the way you do the L2L. Your rhythm and intonation will continue to be like the transcript or like your native language. So you've got to get rid of that so you can focus on listening and imitating the recording. Now, maybe you've practiced and 4 days later, you haven't been using a transcript and all of a sudden you realize, you know what, I'm not sure what they're saying here. Okay, pull the transcript back out, look at it, practice it a few times. Okay, got it. And then get rid of the transcript again. Very, very important to do that. It's very tempting to keep that transcript, but it's very important to get rid of it if you want to improve your English. After 1 or 2 recordings, no one will notice the difference because the improvement at the beginning is sort of slow, but after 4 or 5 weeks, others you'll notice will start to really improve and you'll still be right where you are. The L2L will continue to be a struggle. So make sure you get rid of those. All right, more is better. All right, starting at around 60 times, at around 40 times, you'll start to get the L2L and you'll be able to do it pretty well. Even 20 times, you'll be able to sound pretty good, okay? So you might say, oh, I don't need to practice anymore. I can do it well. Well, that may be true. To the recording, you may sound okay, but it's not changing your habits. You only start to change your language habits after you can do it well. The beginning part is just getting to where you can do it well. And so many people are tempted to stop there, but then it doesn't improve your English at all. Imitating at least 60 times per week will enable you to really start building new language habits. You may sound great by then. Don't stop. It's when you sound great that you start improving your English. In imitating at least 80 times will help you to really start to create new language habits that you'll speak like a native speaker. And as you speak like the correct rhythms and intonations, the listening will also get much, much easier. More is better. I've had students that have practiced 100 and even 200 plus times a week on this. And sometimes their classmates are like, how, I can't even get hardly 40, there's no time. And I've asked some of these students, I'm picturing some have children, they're working full-time jobs, they're busy. And I've asked them, how do you practice that much? And the answer for the ones who practice the most is almost always the same. Basically, they'll say, it's easy. And I've heard people actually say that it's easy. What they do is they've just gotten in the habit of doing it. They have it on their phone, they have their headset with them, and maybe they go for a walk. Boom, they put their headset in, hit play, and they go for their walk, and they put it so it's automatically repeating. They can stick their phone in their pocket. They don't have to keep hitting play, and they just keep practicing as they walk. Or they're doing it while they're doing dishes, while they're cleaning the house, while they're doing something else. Now, I do want to say I don't recommend putting your headset in and practicing while driving. We want you to focus on driving and not to crash into something. So that is important. But the assignment, just to be very clear, is that minimum of 80. But for those of you who really want to improve your English quickly and make the most of this semester, just shoot for as many times as you can. Go for 150. Go for over 100 is a good starter. And get in the habit of doing that. For those who are in a classroom-based class, a lot of times I'll see these students are either talking with their classmates on the way out of class, or they will be, if there's no classmates to talk with, they'll put their headset in before they even leave the classroom, hit play, and I will hear them walking out of the classroom doing their L2L. And they're just using those little moments here and there to practice 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there is the best way to go rather than half an hour all at once. Grab those little times. That's really helpful. All right. Some notes. When you start a new recording, it will be difficult to speak along. Your English will be broken. It won't sound good. You're not allowed to look at the transcript yet. That's fine. And as you do get into even 10, 20, you'll get better even in 1 or 2 times. You'll start to learn it. But when you get to around 40, it will become much easier and the language habits will begin. Around 60 is where they really start to begin the new language habits. And the more you practice, at least 80, those language habits will develop faster and will develop deeper, especially at the beginning of the semester. Practicing a lot is very important to get your brain thinking the right direction, and that makes the rest of the semester much more useful and powerful. So I do have this curve here. Again, I've had students come to me and say, oh, I don't think the L2L is very powerful. It's not helping me. And I'll say, how many times are you practicing? And I'm practicing a ton. I'm practicing 30 times. And I'll say, you're right. There's 30 times. This is how many times you practice. This is how much you're improving. It's not helping you very much. You are completely correct. But those who practice a lot will notice the difference. And I've had students at the end of the semester, I've had just this last semester, I'll have students say, you know, at the beginning when you introduced this, I didn't think it would work, but I want to be a good student and do it. And I'm so glad I did because this helped my English so much. I've had students years later say, I still do the L2L sometimes because it helps so much. But it will only help you if you will do it. I cannot make you improve your English. Having the L2L on your MP3 player will not help you improve your English. Practicing the L2L, and you can turn it into a game, see how well you can do, will help you improve your English. Again, at least 80 times and more is better because at that point you're improving quickly. It's developing those habits and more is better. So great. Now, some notes. While you are speaking along, focus on imitating the speaker's intonation, pronunciation, rhythm, etc. Try to imitate the speaker as best as you can. Again, it's not just listening, all right? It's not just speaking along. You know, it's not just saying the words. You could get the words perfect and have no benefit. It's speaking the words with the correct, matching that imitation and rhythm, but obviously in your own voice. Some of the recordings have a very low voice. You don't have to talk like this. It's in your own voice, but imitating them. Become an actor. And actually, if you can use your hands, use your facial expression as you're talking to become that person, it will help you even amplified much more. That's wonderful. If you do end up memorizing it, do speak along with the recording. Don't start doing it from memory right away. I'll talk more about that in a moment, but it's important to be listening and imitating. That holds you accountable to have the correct rhythm and intonation, not just to be able to get through it with the words, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. You should set your MP3 player, your phone, to keep repeating it. You can have one track. If you don't know how to do this, just ask somebody who's like 5 years, maybe even 3 years to 18, and they'll get it for you. But you should be able to have your phone so it will just keep automatically repeating the sound file. Now, some of you, especially on the iPhones, downloading is a little bit different, and I'll put some directions out there for that because the iPhones don't let you download as directly as the Android phones. So you might be tempted, you just hit download and it's there and you can hit play, but the problem is every time you want to listen, you have to hit play again. So you practice for a minute, play, 40-minute, hit play again. You keep having to hit it. So you're not going to be able to just go for a while. You're not going to practice as much as if your hands are free to it just keeps coming. So it's very important to actually get it on your phone in a way that you can set it to automatically just keep repeating for you. That will really help you. All right. Here's that note about doing it from memory. If you have mastered the L2L, you may do it half the time, roughly, you don't have to count exactly, but half the time from memory. And what do I mean by mastered? Mastered does not mean that you know the words. It does not mean that you're doing the words and you can say those correctly. That's part of it. You do need to have the words perfect. But mastered means that you can nearly perfectly imitate the rhythm, the intonation, etc. You can sound natural while doing so, and it's just as easy for you. You've got it. It's there. At that point, you can start doing it from memory, and doing it from memory will help you. But I want to give you some cautions here. For many, many years, I've told the students, do not do it from memory. No matter how well you've got it, don't do it from memory because it can be very dangerous. what can sometimes happen is when you're listening and imitating, it pushes you, it holds you accountable to match the rhythm because you're doing the rhythm at the same time. And if you're off, you notice it. When you do it from memory, you can start using your own rhythm and intonation and you don't notice because there's no comparison to hold you accountable. So if you start doing it from memory and you're not ready yet, or you only do it from memory, it will actually hurt you. You'll be practicing the wrong thing. All right. So if you've got it to where you're doing well, go ahead, do it from memory half the time. And the other half, go back to listening and imitating, because that will help you to see if you're drifting into bad habits. But if you can do it from memory, that is very helpful as well, because it really forces you to process it, internalize it, and make it your own. And that will really help your language if you can do it from memory. But again, don't only do it from memory, it will hurt you. So that's that. Benefits of the L2L. The main benefits are will help your rhythm, your linking and blending, which is part of the English language. Words aren't said separately, they're said together. They often link together, and there's different ways that happens. Sentence stress and flow, everything, intonation, it helps with all aspects of spoken and then listening. I like to tell the story. There's, if any of you have seen one of the early Spider-Man movies, real early on, there's a scene when Peter Parker, who is Spider-Man, has just gotten bitten by the spider, and he doesn't know yet that he is Spider-Man. And he gets in trouble with the bully, and the big, strong bully of the school comes to beat him up. And the bully punches Peter. He goes to punch him, and Peter just turns, and it looks like the bully is moving very, very slowly. And Peter just turns and looks, and then the bully is punching again. And to Peter, the bully can't hit him. Peter's too fast. But to Peter, it seems like the bully is just moving so slow. And all of a sudden, this fly flies by in the scene, and Peter reaches up and just grabs the fly right out of the air and looks at it and then lets it go. I think he lets it go. I don't remember. But anyhow, did everything really slow down? No, it didn't. But Peter, as Spider-Man, just sped up so much that it seemed like everything was slower to him. And that's how it is. When you master the L2L and you've got the rhythm, you've got the intonation, it will seem to you as if everybody around you that used to speak so fast, the news broadcast, your friend who speaks really quickly, or the person you'd like to have as a friend, but you can't understand them because they speak too quickly, they will all slow down. Is everything slowing down? No, but you will speed up with your listening, because as you're practicing the L2L for the speaking part, it's programming your language sense and the way you listen, especially that rhythm is very important. As you repeat, as you get it, the L2L will even improve your grammar, because the language is becoming part of who you are, which will help then your reading and writing. So it helps everything. The L2L, as it says at the bottom there, is reprogramming your mind to think in English. Not just the words, but the flow, the way English works. So just to be very clear, what is the assignment for our class? To listen and imitate the recording, not just say it, but to imitate it at least 80 times each week. And again, spread that out over several days. Don't do it all in 1 to 3 days. Try to spread it at least over 6 would be good. It's nice to take a day off. I'm fully supportive of that, but don't take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days off and expect to improve your English. So that is all that we have. That's the L2L. There will be some other videos coming out talking about little details here or there about how to make the most of it, some other options and things. But this can change your life. If you practice, especially here at the beginning of the semester, work hard, perfect those L2Ls, and it will change your English now so that for the rest of the semester, it can be refining your English. If you just are sort of relaxed now, and at the end, when you see your classmates improving, you start to work hard, you won't get as far as they did, because you're not going to really master it until later in the semester, and there won't be as much time to then refine it. So go for it. And this may be something you'll do on your own for the rest of your life. It really does help your English to improve. As a closing thing, I'll say I do still use the L2L. If I am going to be speaking in public, I need to remind myself to slow down. So sometimes before I would have speak in public to a larger group, not the classroom on a day-to-day basis, but to a larger group, I will do an L2L for some well-known speakers to catch their rhythm and speed and it will help me then to slow down to a normal public speaking speed, which is different than, say, classroom speed perhaps, or speaking with a friend speed, to be sure. So anyhow, enjoy the L2L. It can change your life if you choose to make it change your life by doing it, and doing it effectively and well. Have a great day.